Hello and welcome to the lecture on for each loop. So let's understand how to iterate an array using an for each loop. So let's look at the syntax and we'll try to access some arrays using for each. So if you go to arrays folder, example 2 for each loop, the logical flow is to understand how to iterate an array elements using for each loop. So part of this will create this deliverable file for each loop array, and we'll save it in an arrays folder. Okay, so let's define an array and let's print it. So before that, let me show you the syntax of an for each loop. So this is how the syntax looks like for each loop. So you have to write for each, that's the keyword. Then you have to put an array name here, and as is an keyword again. Then you have to put the any variable name. Okay, so all the array elements will be copied one by one as a loop into this variable, and then with this variable you can access the array. Okay, so let's look at an example to understand this concept. So let's say you have an array, okay, of string values. Let's say it is Monday to Sunday, and now you want to write an for each loop to access all the values in that array. Okay, first you can always do a var dump just to see what are the values in that array. Okay, so now let's write a loop. So before that, let's print this. Okay, so we are able to access that array. Let's print it with an for each loop. So syntax is you have to write an for each. Okay, you can say array as $values. Okay, this is a variable. You can put any value name here. This is just a value that you are putting it in the variable. Okay, and this is an array name. This name has to be the name of an array, and this could be any variable that holds that value. Okay, so if you just echo out the values, then you can see the values here. Okay, and if you want to put a counter, okay, just to see what is the index of that counter, so you can say counter plus plus. Now you have an counter which is a running number which starts with 0. Okay, so you can say counter $values. Okay, now you can see the index of that array, but typically index, when there is no index mentioned, we haven't mentioned any index here, automatically it starts with 0 and it will increment as it go along. Okay, that's why we are just using some integer variable and incrementing it by 1 and then using it as an index. So this index is starts with 0 till 6. Okay, if you want to access the array index value, you can even do that. You can still say array counter. Okay, let's print this. So you see I'm able to access even that variable using the counter as well. Okay, array of counter is basically array of that index I'm trying to print it over here. So we have seen with string variables. Let's try to create an array with different data types and print them. Okay, so for that we can still use the counter. Okay, we can define our array. So we use this. And then we will change some of the strings to different data types. Okay, we'll say true. We'll say 7.5. Okay, we have double, we have integers, we have booleans, and then we have double. Okay, so let's echo this out. then we'll increment the counter. Okay, it has no problem doing that. It doesn't really care whether you have same data type or different data types. It's able to access that particular value at that index and then try to print it. Okay, so we have 1 here because of true, but it's actually a boolean true. Okay, if you want to print this, we have var dump, so we'll know there are different data types: string, int, string, boolean, string, double, and string. Okay, so for each doesn't really care what data type it is. This value can hold any data type, means it doesn't care what data types you have. You just store that value and you can print that value. This shows how to use for each loop to access the values inside an array, and that value could be of any data type or same data type without an index. You can actually access them using the for each. Okay, so that's all about for each loop, and I'll see you in the next one.